My name is Hyla Crane, and I'm the Executive Director, and we are so pleased that you could join us for another edition of our Art Center Live. Now, our special guest today is a little different. This guest is going to be coming to the Art Center to do a program to help us all get ready for Halloween. So this is going to be a little spooky. I'd like to introduce you to my special guest today, Christopher Balzano. Hello, Christopher. How are you?
Hello. Excellent. How are you doing this afternoon?
Oh, we're great. And we're so thankful that you're joining us to talk a little bit about what these upcoming events are going to be. Now, we're doing an event for our adult audiences. So, of course, we will have a glass of wine for you from our wine sponsor, Total Wine and More of Naples. Our adult program is Haunted Tales of Southwest Florida, and that's going to be Thursday, October 14th at 6 o'clock. Christopher, can you tell us a little bit about what our audience members can expect at that program?
I love the fact, first of all, I think it's perfect because it's a dark and stormy afternoon here in Southwest Florida, so it sets the mood for us talking perfectly right now. I love the fact that you called it, you said it was in preparation for Halloween, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to give people a whole bunch of spooky, haunted, creepy Florida bits of folklore that they can actually go out and experience themselves anytime, but especially, as Halloween kind of rolls around. So everything that we're going to talk about at this event is something that people can visit themselves, and they can even kind of go through the motions of what I did when I went there and the history of what exists in that location, and maybe catch something for themselves, or at very least learn a little bit about history and a little bit about spookiness. So it's going to be really not only an event where we get to tell stories, but people can actually kind of maybe scratch their heads afterwards and debate whether or not they want to go out to some of these places.
When you're saying they can experience this themselves, say I go to a place, a house, a tree, whatever it is that is part of your story, you're telling me I might be seeing ghosts?
Well, here's what I always say, right? We can debate whether or not ghosts are real, but ghost stories are always real. So when you go to these locations, you may or may not experience something paranormal, but you'll totally get a feel for why the folklore exists about these locations, right? When you take a step into the actual atmosphere of where people are saying that strange things are happening, and the backstory and what people say has happened over the years, it's pretty fun. And it's a little bit spooky. It's a little bit exciting and scary, but it's also, you're like, wow, I really understand why they tell this story about this town or about this location, because I can feel it when I'm here. So you may experience a real ghost, but you'll definitely experience the echoes of the ghost story.
Wow. I think that's going to be really exciting for our audience. Now, Chris, is it possible for people who may be attending the event that they could submit a mystery from Southwest Florida, and maybe you can talk about it for them? Is that a possibility?
What I do, I'm not a paranormal investigator anymore. I am a folklorist, right? And so what I do is I specialize in haunted folklore. Folklore are the stories of the people. I've been getting into this argument all week with people who have for different reasons, but folklore is a story of the people. I learn what I learn because people tell me the stories, right? So if people who are with us today or view this want to, before the actual event, message you guys and say, can Balzano look into this? Can Balzano look into that? I love opening up the history books. I love connecting with people. And this is where I get my information from. However often I see something on a website, or I see something on a television show that sparks like, maybe I want to go look into that. Much more often it happens, someone comes up to me, they know what I do, and they say, have you ever heard this story? And then all of a sudden I'm off and running. So I would love for people to contribute.
All right, my friends out there, we'll put something out there where you can contact us. So if there's a mystery here on Marco Island during Collier County that you've always wondered about, send your question here to me or to info@marcoislandart.org, and we'll forward it on to Mr. Balzano, and maybe when you come on the 16th, we'll have some information about that mystery for you. Now, Christopher, you're also coming for an event for younger people. We're going to do an event Saturday morning, October 16th, where young people can come and decorate a bag for trick-or-treating. It's going to be from 9:30 in the morning till about 11. And then you're going to tell some stories appropriate for a younger audience. The top 10 ghostly legends. What can they expect from that?
I think that kids love a good spooky story, right? They really honestly, and they can handle it. And we probably, even if we don't want to admit it, heard our first scary story when we were younger, right? So what I do is I take the top 10 spookiest things in Florida or spookiest places in Florida that I can kind of shed some of the backstory of or some of the spooky elements of, and I present it in a way, the same way that Goosebumps might, or the same way that the cartoons that they watch do. So it's kind of the story, but it's watered down a little bit so kids can kind of enjoy it. And what I often find, because I've done this program before, is the kids want to amp it up for me sometimes, but then other times they say, do you know this story or do you know that story? And so I'm a middle school English teacher myself, so I know that age range, but I also know elementary school from having kids of my own and kind of especially my daughter, getting all of her friends together in a little fake campfire circle and telling these stories. And it really kind of connects people and kind of lets us all enjoy these things together.
Well, these are going to be two great events. They are up on our website, www.marcoislandart.org, if you're interested, or just give us a call here at the Art Center, 239-394-4221, and get your tickets today. The adult program on October 14th is just $10, and the program for our young people is only $5, and that's really just to cover the material costs. So, Christopher, I'm curious, you are an English teacher, but I know that along with being a folklorist, you're also an author. I actually have, is this your most recent book here?
That's my most recent book, yeah.
All right, and this is Haunted Florida Love Stories, and I think these will be for sale at the events. You've written about how many books?
That is my 8th book.
8th book.
My 8th book, yeah. I have one that went into a 2nd edition, so when I'm trying to puff up my chest a little bit, I say I have 9, but in actuality, it's only 8.
And all of these have to do with haunted information. You said earlier that at one time you're not chasing paranormal activity now, but is that something that was part of your past, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely. I mean, it's interesting that the arc that I've had, I began as always having an interest in this, but I'm from Boston. I know you can't tell because of my accent. I kind of shed a little bit when I do.
Park the car. I know.
If I start to get excited or angry at you, it'll come out. Don't worry. But I was in a haunted dorm in Boston at Emerson College. And I talked to a lot of people, and all these people were telling me different stories, not only about what they were experiencing, but the reason why they were experiencing, what they thought the backstory of it was. So I started saying, wait a minute, I've heard that story before because I read so much and I was so into ghost stories and things like that. I'm like, I heard that story about Ohio. I heard that story about California. How can the same exact thing be happening? And I realized that people have weird experiences, unexplained experiences, and then they fall back on folklore. They fall back on a story they know. You have haunted Florida love stories. How many Romeo and Juliet type hauntings do you think there are in the country, right? Because I can tell you there's a ton of them just in Florida. So I started doing that. And as I was publishing my work on the internet, which was new at that time, yes, I'm that old, people would then call me and ask me to look into things more. And then they would ask me into their house to try to explain what was going on there. And so
but when you're talking about something happening, can you give me an example of something? I mean, we're talking about things moving on their own? Are we talking about seeing things that maybe are there or not? I mean, can you just give me some details about what you're referring to?
Sure. A lot of people, especially in the days when I began investigating, they would say, "You've written about this story. In my house, I have a woman who walks down my stairs. She makes me nervous. She makes me scared. I have someone who is moving my kids' sheets at night. They come running into a room saying someone ripped their sheets off. I'm hearing these strange voices that I can't explain. I keep getting these phone calls that are asking for a different person. I mean, it's the whole spectrum of experiences that people have had, and so they would look for someone to explain that, which is different than me going to Mayaca State Park because there's a legend behind it, right, in Sarasota. This were people inviting me into their house to try to explain and comfort them because they were experiencing something that was freaking them out. So it really, I mean, anything from, I hear this weird scratching in the walls and I have people look and there's no critters behind it, to a woman runs through my living room every night at 7:30. And so, I would go out there and because I was writing about it and people were looking towards me, I was an investigator. And I did that for 15, 20 years. I investigated people's homes and different locations and things like that. And at some point, I kind of put it down because I was losing the part of myself that was the storyteller, which is what I loved. So now I do what's called legend tripping. And legend tripping is the same kind of thing, except for you go to some place that has a haunted history to it, that has a very specific story that's said to be going on. And rather than trying to capture evidence or take pictures or look at meters while you're doing it, it's all about the experience. It's all about experience over evidence. And a lot of it has to do with learning, why does this town say that? Why is this story being spread by locals? Once again, I'm going to say a Sarasota one. Why is this certain bridge in Sarasota, they're saying that these weird things that they see, the ghost of an Amish man and an English woman who loved each other, who can never be together? Why are they spreading that story that's awfully specific? And so that's kind of what I do. It's like I said, it's part history, it's part paranormal, and a lot of it is, why do certain people tell the stories that they tell?
That is very interesting. I'm a little worried that if you come to the art center, maybe we'll find that there's some paranormal activity here. I certainly hope not, but one never knows.
The good thing is that I rarely bring anything back with me from a location, so I definitely probably won't bring anything to a location. So I think you'll be fine.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Or not, who knows?
Again, it's fascinating to see how your interest in history coupled with an interest in sort of looking at legends. I'm glad you explained the concept of legend tripping because you do a podcast, is that correct?
Yeah, and it's called Tripping on Legends, which is a cute little play on it. I kind of explained what legend tripping is. One of the things that happens when you do that is you constantly mess up. And it's not really messing up because it's what one person at one particular time, they told this version of the story, and then it gets changed and it gets changed. And so I always call it tripping on legend because I'm constantly rediscovering or redefining or finding a new rabbit hole, even within a legend that makes it three different people tell it three different ways. And the little mistakes that I make along the way and have people email me and say, you got it completely wrong. This is the story behind it. A great example is my good friend here, Robert, who's probably the most famous ghost story, I would say, in Florida. He's definitely Florida's paranormal superstar. He's got 3 different legends about why this supposedly haunted doll came into being. And so Tripping on Legends is all about finding all of the different reasons, not just the best reason, but the best reason for whatever people need it to be.
Okay, well, I think that our friends who are going to join us on the 14th have a very exciting evening ahead of them. I know that I'm excited to learn more about it, and I am working my way through the haunted Florida love stories, and it is very interesting. I would like to ask, because as I said, this is sort of an interesting journey that you have taken from being somebody who is investigating paranormal activity into this evolution of being a folklorist and an author and now a podcaster. Who or what has been sort of a major influence on you that has sort of pushed you through this career path or has inspired you on this career track?
You know, in the old days, I probably would have said like someone like all fancy, like I would have said, Joseph Campbell or something like that. But it honestly is my friend Jeff Belanger, who created 22 years ago, created a site called Ghost Village. And he is one of the prominent ghost writers or paranormal writers. He writes for the show Ghost Adventures. He just has a new book out about Kilimanjaro. He's this amazing person who never sits on his laurels and allows himself to be complacent. He's always looking for the next thing. He's always looking to play the puck where it's going to be, not where it is. And he is my consultant on my journey. Like I ask him something and he says, nope, I think you should be doing this. Or we bounce ideas off of each other. And honestly, by looking at him, someone who can be so successful and not be complacent and always be looking for the next big thing, and also staying true to the story at all times, has really been an inspiration to me.
I can see that. Well, I have to tell you, you actually shared a legend with me that I wasn't familiar with here in Florida, and that was about the skunk ape, which we now in our office have done a lot of research on and read about. So I want to thank you for getting us interested in a particular legend. Not exactly a love story, I would say, but something that we're a little curious about. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate you joining me today. For my friends out there, again, come on down, come join us on October 16th. It's going to be a very interesting evening. The program is going to start at 6 o'clock, and we promise it won't be too spooky for you. Or maybe it will be very spooky.
Or maybe it will, you never know.
Or it could be very spooky. And again, if there is a mystery that you have been thinking about or you've always wanted an answer to, send it our way and we'll pass it along and see if Christopher can give us any insight into it. So my friends, it's coming to the end of September, which you may or may not know is the end of Marco Island Center for the Arts fiscal year, and we are finishing up our annual appeal. I know it has been a crazy year, a crazy 18 months, but as we finish up, we reach out to you because we can't do it without your support. And it is your support that ensures that art and culture continues to thrive here on Marco and beyond. So if you can, if you're capable, if you feel like it and wanted to make a donation, you can just go to our website and click on the annual appeal button. We would be most grateful. And if you are somebody who has given already, thank you. Our gratitude is boundless. October 1st, we will kick off our 2021-2022 season, and we have a lot of exciting exhibitions, classes and workshops. The classes and workshop catalog just came in today, so if you've been waiting for it, come on down to the Art Center and grab one, as well as programs like the one that we're having on October 16th with Mr. Balzano here. So, my friends, as I finish up, I just want you to know that we are really looking forward to people coming back. There are a lot of our friends we didn't see last season because they didn't come back to Marco. So, whether you're here, whether you're returning, or whether you're out there and following us that way, please know that you are dear in our hearts. You are and will always be part of our art family, and we try every day in every way to be your art home. Bye-bye, everybody.